Hey, what's going on? I'm Patrick Jagir, and in this video I want to show you the energy ball exercise. So the energy ball is something that I recommend to a lot of patients, acupuncture patients, and even people who I do readings for. I recommend some Qigong exercises. This is one of the basic ones that it's incorporated into both of my videos, more so in the Thor's Hammer Qigong, but it's in there with both of them. So this is a good way to get in touch with your body's energy, be able to feel the energy in and around your body, and it's a good way to build it up too. You know, really to build, you have to become aware of your energy first, and then the other thing too is that you've got a lot of energy in your body, a lot of energy in your aura, in your energy bodies that is just not recruited. You don't use it, and it's not really available for your use. So again, awareness is paramount. You have to become aware of this unused, this unrecruited energy, this dormant energy, so that you can use it, and it makes you healthier and gives you more, I guess, personal power, you might say. So let's go through the basic pattern. Well, actually, before we go through the basic pattern, you want to get the basic stance down the right way. So you want your feet about, I don't know, about hip width, maybe a little wider than your hips. Definitely no wider than your shoulders. Find out what's comfortable for you, but at least hip width. And you want your spine as straight up and down as possible. So you can imagine, you know, right at your fontanelle, you know, where your soft spot used to be, there's a rope pulling up. So your head's buoyant, and then you want to have a bend in your knees so that your pelvis hangs down. So at the two ends of your spine, you have a simultaneous, like a buoyancy and a lifting, and then a hanging. So one thing too, you want to make sure your ass isn't sticking out. That cuts the energy flow at your midsection. So you want your low back to be nice and straight. So those are the two main things. And another thing to point out here is that when it comes to where to distribute your weight in your feet, your plumb line is right forward of your heel. It's the two tendons right in the front of your ankle. It's right below that. So it's not in the balls of your feet, it's not in your heels. If you put all your weight in the balls of your feet, all the muscles on the back side of your body and that whole posterior chain have to fire to keep you upright from falling forward. When your weight's in your heels, all the muscles on the front side have to work to keep you upright so you don't fall backward. So that's your balance point. Now at some point we're actually going to move back and forth between the two. We're going to move from front to back and vice versa. So, but to just get the basic movement down, just find that balance point between the heel and the ball of the foot. It's a little forward of the heel, like I said, between those two. It's in that little kind of anatomical snuff box on the front of the ankle between those two tendons, kind of right in the center. So yeah, the basic movement of this, you know, keep your hands together here. It's at about solar plexus level, and you know, to start with, just breathe into this space and imagine feeling like there's kind of a fluid between your hands. Not something like water, but something thicker that you can compress. Now, one of the things with this fluid feeling is that the frequency of chi energy it's fluidic. So, because emotions are watery by nature, and chi has a lot to do with emotional energy. So just breathe into that space between your hands Feel that fluid. Now, on the inhales, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be expanding this ball. And as you do this, imagine feeling like you're pulling your hands apart, like they're two magnets that are attracted to each other. And you're moving against this attraction. So the hands move away from each other, but they really would like to stay near each other. So you do that on your inhale. Expand that space between the hands. And what we're going to use is a 4-cycle breath. So after that inhale, you're going to pause your breath, but the hands never stop. So while your breath has that brief pause, your hands are going to start moving towards each other. And then you're going to exhale. And as you exhale, you imagine your hands are repelling each other. So they're two magnets that push each other away from each other. They repel each other. So inhale, break the attraction, pause, change direction, exhale, push against the repulsion. And then a pause, while your breath is paused, change direction, and then inhale. So what you're going to notice here about my forearms and hands is there's a little bit of a kind of a fish body motion that my hands are going through. So it's not like a, straight in and out. There's some curvature to it. Exhale, pause, change direction, inhale, pause, change direction, exhale. So a brief pause at the end of every inhale and every exhale. So once you have this basic movement down, you've got it coordinated. Your inhales, your exhales. One thing I want you to make sure of is you've got a little space in your armpit at all times, even when you're closing this up. When you first start doing this, you'll have a tendency to expand, and then on a compression, these arms come right against the body. So, and you can still feel energy like this, but when your armpit is totally closed, you block the flow of energy, or at least the optimal flow of energy down your arm to your hand. Of course, there will still be energy, but it'll be a little interrupted. And doing these brief pauses in your breath at the end of an exhale and at the end of an inhale, this slows your system down. Now another thing to play around with is how big your expansion gets and how small your compression gets. So you'll notice, one, I'm expanding a lot in order to show the exercise, but two, I still get a really good and strong feeling of the energy even when I go out. It wasn't always when I expand out. It wasn't always this way. I had to work up to this. My range was kind of here for a long time. So if you find you're expanding and your hands are moving away from each other and you can't feel that attraction between your hands, and just limit the size of your energy ball a little more. Same goes for the compression. Sometimes people like to stay out wide because when they come in close, they start losing the repelling feeling, the pushing away feeling between the hands. So find the range you like. Some people just like to work kind of in here, especially if you're new to this and you're not very energy sensitive. Some people just like to kind of work a small ball. Work all sizes, see what you like. That's the basic movement. Now let me show you something now with the weight shift. So in addition to expanding and compressing the ball, we want to shift our weight between the heels and the ball of the foot. So what this is going to do, it's going to activate different parts of the body. And it's also going to generate an electromagnetic current in your bones, particularly in the bones in your legs, your feet, and your lumbar spine, but really in your whole body. So when you put loads on your bones, when you move and you put weight on your bones, they actually flex a little bit, creates what's called a piezoelectric charge. So it's a very small electric charge. But it's something your body needs, and your bones actually need this energy, this electricity moving through them in order to stay strong, stay robust, to regenerate themselves. It's like if you ever heard about astronauts going into space for extended periods, they actually lose bone density. So this electrical current maintains your bone density. And this whole exercise, by the way, is great for bone density. Not a cure-all, if you have osteoporosis, it's not a cure-all, but it'll put you on the right track. Nutrition's also important, and a bunch of other things. So, the weight shift. So we're going to be going between the heel and the ball, and going back and forth. Now what you'll notice when I go to the heel, I'm kind of sitting on like a table or a countertop or a bar stool. So I'm dropping with a straight spine, and my butt kind of goes back a bit, and it's like it's going to sit on something, and it's going to come up. So hips go back a little bit, and then hips come forward as you do this. So when you put it all together, when you inhale and expand, you're sinking towards your heels. So it's like you're pulling muscles. It's like you're engaging your pulling muscles like you're in a tug of war. Now, something I forgot to add earlier, when you do this, you don't want to be feeling muscle tension. You want to be feeling like your muscles are hanging off your bones as much as possible. It's like when you see a cow walking and their flesh kind of shakes. It's not because the cow's fat, it's because the cow knows how to relax its muscles when it doesn't need to engage them, when it doesn't need to tense them. So think about that, be the cow. So again, you're expanding. Actually, let me give you a 45 degree. You're expanding, sink towards the heels. Think about all the pulling muscle groups in your body. And a little pause. And on the exhale, as you compress, you're shifting towards the ball of the foot. And inhale, back towards the heel. Sit back a little bit. Exhale towards the balls and the hips come forward. Remember, keep that space open in the armpit. So that's the basic idea. Another thing too is about how far forward your hands are from your body. When you're first starting this out, you might want to have your elbows basically parallel with this. What the hell plane is this? Might be the frontal plane, I can't remember. But your arms are like parallel to your rib cage here. Because in the beginning, if you try to have your hands out here, you're going to be using a lot of shoulder muscle. As you progress through this training, you use less and less muscle. And you're working more with your connective tissue. So in the beginning, if your hands are way out here, your shoulders are going to get tired. So start with your arms, the upper arm, just kind of being perpendicular to the ground, just straight down. So, look something like this. As you get more relaxed and more proficient, your arms are more out here. I've been doing this for a long time, so you build efficiency over time. So yeah, all the muscle hangs off your bones, Be aware of what your shoulder blades are doing. Make sure your shoulder blades aren't up here, because you're going to cut energy flow. You're going to make yourself more tense. You might even feel a little kind of stressed out physically if your shoulder blades are up by your ears. So everything's hanging during this. So be aware of your shoulder blades. And another thing too, as you do this, there's always a bend in your knee. Even when your weight is towards the ball of the foot, always a bend in the knee. There's a little more here when the weight's in the heels and you're expanding the ball. But even when you compress, there's still bend in the knee. In the Western world, most people are knee lockers. So when they stand like this. They do some really horrendous things with their knees. And some people just tell you, oh, well, I'm double jointed and I can do that. It's not good. Because when you do that, you shorten your hamstrings, you shorten your quadratus lumborum, which is a muscle in your lumbar spine, connects your ribs to your pelvis. And it even shortens the paraspinals, which run along your spine. So if you make all those muscles short, it's a recipe for low back pain. So don't be an unconscious knee locker. The whole Western world is a bunch of unconscious knee lockers. Keep a bend in your knees. Now if you notice when you do this exercise and your legs get sore, that's normal. The more you work your legs, the stronger the marrow is in your bones. And working all these leg muscles, your quads, your glutes and all that, it kind of ramps up your metabolism a little bit. So I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.